Captain, you don't want that one. Then maybe he just needs someone who understands what he's been through. When a blind veteran asked to meet a retired police K-9 that had sent 2 handlers to the hospital, the entire facility went silent. The director stepped forward, almost pleading. "Captain, he's dangerous," she warned, her voice tight with concern. But Spencer didn't step back. He tilted his head slightly, listening to the distant growl echoing down the hallway, and said quietly, "Then maybe he just needs someone who understands what he's been through." That's how Captain Joseph W. Spencer met Rex, the most feared dog in the state. Before we begin, don't forget to hit like, repost or share, and subscribe. And I'm really curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. Back to the story. Rex had once been a K-9 legend, the pride of the state police. But after a warehouse raid where his handler, Officer Marcus Chen, was killed in action, something inside Rex shattered. He attacked the first responder who tried to pull him away from Marcus's body. Then he attacked every handler they assigned him after that. His behavioral file read in bold red letters, "Unfit for adoption or service. Euthanasia recommended." Every day he sat at the back of his kennel in the isolation wing, teeth bared, eyes wild, a warrior with nothing left to fight for. Staff avoided his corridor. They said he was broken beyond saving. Until that Tuesday morning when Spencer walked in, his white cane tapping methodically against the tile floor. He wasn't there for Rex, at least not at first. The facility had selected 3 gentle, retired therapy dogs for him, dogs trained specifically for veterans. But while the staff showed him the friendly candidates, Spencer's head turned toward the low, rumbling growl coming from the isolation wing at the back of the building. "What about that one?" he asked. The director's face went pale. "Captain, that's not a good option." Spencer's expression didn't change. "I'd still like to meet him." The staff exchanged worried glances, whispering urgently to each other. No one had ever asked to meet Rex, not voluntarily, not after reading his file. They escorted Spencer down the hallway slowly, flanking him on both sides. The air grew colder, heavier. Rex stood rigid when he heard the footsteps, his hackles rising, muscles coiled tight, eyes locked on the sound of that cane tapping closer. The staff gripped their catch poles. Everyone's pulse quickened. Spencer stopped just outside the chain-link kennel. Behind him, someone whispered, "Captain, please reconsider." But Spencer was already speaking. "Hello there, Rex. My name's Spencer. You sound angry, but I think you're really just scared." No one had ever spoken to him like that. Not a command, not an order, just understanding. Rex's growl caught in his throat, became something uncertain. His ears flicked forward, confused. Spencer continued, his voice steady and calm. "They tell me you lost your handler. Marcus Chen. That was his name, right?" He paused. "I lost my whole unit in Afghanistan. Every single one of them. So I know what you're carrying, brother." For a long moment, Rex didn't move. The tension was suffocating. The director whispered urgently, "Captain Spencer, I think that's far enough." But Spencer was already lifting his hand toward the bars, extending it slowly through the chain link. His fingers reached into striking range. "Captain, don't!" someone shouted. "It's okay, Rex. You don't have to be alone with it anymore." The staff gasped as Rex moved forward, every muscle in his body tensed. His scarred muzzle came within inches of Spencer's hand. He froze there, breathing hard, trembling. Spencer didn't pull back. He just waited, patient, unflinching. "I can't see what everyone else sees when they look at you," Spencer said quietly. "But I can hear what you're trying to say, and I'm not afraid." And then it happened. The dog that had attacked every person who came near him pressed his head against Spencer's palm. Not a bite, not a lunge. A broken, desperate plea for connection. A sound emerged from Rex's throat that no one at the facility had ever heard. A whimper, raw and grieving, almost human in its pain. The room went completely silent. The animal behaviorist covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. The director's phone slipped from her fingers and clattered to the concrete floor. A handler who'd worked there for 15 years turned away, shoulders shaking. Spencer's hand moved gently over the scars on Rex's head, and he whispered, "Yeah, brother, I know. The most dangerous dog in the state leaned into that touch like it was the first kindness he'd felt since the world had taken everything from him. And in that moment, two broken warriors, both written off by the system, both carrying wounds no one else could see, found exactly what they'd been missing. Someone who understood. The director's office walls told Rex's story in fading photographs and newspaper clippings. A younger, magnificent German shepherd standing beside uniformed officers, his chest covered in commendations. Headlines reading, "Hero Canine takes down armed suspect," and state's top police dog saves officer's life. In one photo, Rex sat proud and alert while the governor placed a medal around his neck. The director had pointed to that wall earlier, her voice heavy with something between pride and grief. "Best police canine in state history," she'd said. 120 felony arrests, 3 officer rescues. He was unstoppable. Then came the warehouse raid on a February night that changed everything. Officer Marcus Chen had been Rex's handler for 4 years. They moved like one unit, trusted each other completely. But in that warehouse, pursuing suspects through a maze of corridors, they got separated. Marcus took gunfire in a back room while Rex was 2 floors up, chasing a runner. By the time Rex found his way back, following that unbreakable bond they shared, Marcus was already gone. They said Rex tried to drag Marcus's body to safety. When the first responder attempted to pull him away, Rex's teeth found flesh for the first time outside of a takedown. 47 stitches. Then came the second handler, nerve damage in his left hand. The third handler didn't even make it through the introduction. The behavioral assessments grew darker with each incident. Reactive. Unpredictable. Dangerous. Red warning signs multiplied on his kennel. The final evaluation was clinical and brutal. Unfit for adoption or service. Immediate euthanasia recommended. That recommendation had been sitting on the director's desk for 2 weeks, unsigned. She couldn't bring herself to do it. Not to Rex, not after everything he'd given. But time was running out, and everyone knew it. The director studied the man across from her desk. Captain Joseph W. Spencer, Army. The intake form was sparse, but she'd learned to read between the lines. "Afghanistan?" she asked. "Helmand Province. 3 tours." His voice was steady, practiced. "And your injury?" "IED. Roadside." He paused. "I was the only one who made it out." The director's pen stilled. She recognized survivor's guilt when she heard it. "I'm very sorry, Captain." Spencer nodded. 3 years ago. Took me a while to adjust." He gestured toward his dark glasses, the cane against his chair. "But I'm ready now. We have wonderful candidates for you," the director said, reaching for a folder. 3 dogs specifically trained for veterans. Gentle, patient. I requested the difficult cases. Spencer interrupted quietly. "I'm sorry?" "When I applied, I checked the box for challenging placements, dogs other people have trouble with." He leaned forward. "That's why I'm here. Captain Spencer, Rex isn't just challenging. He's dangerous. We have protocols, liability. I didn't come here looking for easy." His tone wasn't aggressive, just certain. "Easy doesn't need me. Easy gets adopted by the next person through your door." He tilted his head, and somehow the director felt like he was looking straight through her. That dog back there needs someone who understands what it's like when everything goes to hell and nobody expects you to come back from it. The director opened her mouth to argue, then closed it, because she recognized something in Spencer's voice that matched Rex's growl. The sound of a warrior who refused to be written off. The director stood, her chair scraping hard. "I need you to understand what you're asking." She called in Dr. Martinez, the animal behaviorist, and 2 senior staff members. They formed a wall between Spencer and the kennels. Dr. Martinez spoke first, clinical but strained. "Captain Spencer, Rex has attacked 4 people in 6 months. Handler Jackson needed 47 stitches. Dr. Patel, our veterinarian, has permanent nerve damage in his right hand. He can't perform surgeries anymore. The pattern is escalating," a staff member added. "Each incident more severe. He's a 90-pound German Shepherd with combat training and nothing left to lose," the director said, almost pleading. "Captain, he will kill you." Silence. Spencer's expression hadn't changed. "I've heard that kind of rage before," he said quietly. The staff exchanged confused glances. Spencer continued. "In the mirror, in my own voice. That first year after the attack, after losing my unit, after waking up blind." He paused. "I was that angry, that broken. Everyone kept their distance because they were afraid of what I might do." Dr. Martinez's clinical mask cracked. "Maybe he just needs someone who won't flinch," Spencer said. "Someone who's been exactly where he is." The director studied him. Everything in her training screamed to refuse. But she looked at the unsigned euthanasia order on her desk, then back at this blind veteran who somehow saw more clearly than anyone. "Supervised," she finally said, heavy with reluctance. "Full safety protocols. If I say stop, you stop." Spencer nodded. "Agreed." "God help us both," the director whispered. Spencer's cane struck concrete like gunshots. Tap, tap, tap. Each strike impossibly loud in the heavy silence. Dr. Martinez walked on his left, the director on his right, 2 handlers behind with catch poles and tranquilizer darts they prayed they wouldn't need. From ahead came the growl, low, then building, a sound like distant thunder, primal and promising violence. The handler behind Spencer slowed. Dr. Martinez's hand drifted toward her radio. Spencer kept walking, his cane finding the path with methodical precision. The isolation wing was nothing like the bright adoption area. Cold fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting harsh white glare. The smell hit next. Industrial cleaner trying to mask something deeper. Fear. Desperation. Chain-link kennels lined both sides, mostly empty. The few dogs housed here pressed against back walls, eyes wide, bodies low. Rex's growl grew louder with each step. Deeper. The vibration traveled through the concrete. 20 more feet, the director said quietly. Spencer didn't slow. Tap, tap, tap. The last kennel on the right. Red signs covered the chain link. Caution. Bite risk. Do not approach. Authorized personnel only. Behind the barriers, a dark shape stood rigid, muscles coiled. The handler checked his tranquilizer gun. Spencer stopped 3 feet from the kennel. The growling filled the hallway now, so loud it seemed impossible it came from one animal. "Captain," Dr. Martinez whispered urgently, "you don't have to do this." Spencer took the final step forward. The growling stopped. In the sudden silence, everyone held their breath. Rex stood motionless behind the chain link, his eyes locked on the man who couldn't see him, but somehow refused to look away. What the staff saw would haunt them for weeks. Rex was a nightmare. Every muscle tensed beneath scarred fur, hackles raised like razors along his spine. Lips pulled back, revealing teeth designed to bring down armed suspects. Eyes that had once been steady and intelligent now burned with something feral, broken. The scars told their story. Some slashed across his muzzle and shoulders from takedowns and raids, badges from years in service. Others were different, raw, self-inflicted from hurling himself against the kennel bars, trying to escape the cage or the memories, or both. He stood in textbook aggressive posture, weight forward, ready to explode. One wrong move, and this would end in blood. But Spencer couldn't see any of it. He stood 3 feet from the kennel, head tilted, listening. What he heard was the growl, but underneath, something else. A tremor. A waver. What he felt was the vibration through concrete, through air, the physical manifestation of rage and grief. What he smelled was fear masked as aggression, an animal backed into a corner with nowhere to run. His cane found the chain link with a soft clink. Behind him, handlers gripped catch poles until their knuckles went white. Dr. Martinez positioned for rapid intervention. The director pulled out her phone, finger over 911, rehearsing the words she'd say when this went wrong. Rex's growl returned, lower, more warning than threat. And Spencer, this blind veteran who couldn't see the bared teeth or coiled muscles or promise of violence, did the one thing no one expected. He smiled. "Hello, Rex," he said softly. "I've been looking for you." Spencer didn't use commands. His voice was conversational, almost like talking to himself. "They told me you lost your handler. Marcus Chen, that was his name, right?" Rex's growl faltered. His ears twitched forward. "He was with you for 4 years. Spencer's voice remained gentle. "I lost my whole unit in Afghanistan. Every single one of them. Guys I'd served with for 3 tours. He paused, something raw entering his tone. "So I know what you're carrying, Rex. I know what it's like when the world expects you to just move on." The growl died. Rex stood frozen, wild eyes locked on this man who spoke the language of his pain. "I know what it's like to wake up and remember they're gone. To feel like you should have been faster, been better." Spencer's hand moved toward the bars. "I know what it's like when everyone's afraid of you." "Captain, don't!" Dr. Martinez shouted. But Spencer was committed. His fingers extended through the chain link into striking range. Handlers tensed. The director's breath caught. Rex went silent, frozen. Everyone stopped breathing. Then Rex moved, not to attack. He stepped forward slowly, hesitantly, like he'd forgotten how. His scarred muzzle inched toward Spencer's hand, stopped, sniffed, trembled, then pressed his head against Spencer's palm. A sound emerged from Rex's chest that no one had ever heard. Not a growl, not a bark. A broken whimper, raw and grieving, almost human. The sound of every loss, every abandonment, every moment alone believing no one would understand. Dr. Martinez covered her mouth, tears streaming. The director's phone clattered to concrete. A handler turned away, shoulders shaking. Spencer's hand moved gently over the scars. "I know, brother. I know." Spencer returned the next day at 1400 hours exactly, and the day after, and the day after. Military precision. Staff began setting their watches by his arrival, the tap of his cane at exactly 2 o'clock. Something changed in Rex. For the first time in 6 months, he waited at the front of his kennel instead of the back corner. Ears forward, alert, listening for that particular rhythm that meant Spencer was coming. Spencer would settle outside the kennel and talk about Helmand Province and the brothers he'd lost, about the therapist who'd helped him understand survival wasn't betrayal. He researched Marcus Chen, read about the warehouse raid, learned about the officer who loved hiking and coached youth soccer, whose daughter had just started college. Spencer shared these stories, giving voice to the partner who couldn't speak anymore. By week 2, Spencer brought food. Rex took it from his hand, gentle despite massive jaws that had hospitalized handlers. His teeth never grazed Spencer's fingers. By week 3, the director allowed Spencer inside the kennel. Just Spencer. When a staff member entered with water, Rex moved immediately, not aggressive, but deliberate. He positioned himself between the stranger and Spencer, a living shield, protective. The staff member backed out slowly, and Rex settled at Spencer's side. "He's bonding," Dr. Martinez said, watching through the observation window. "I've never seen anything like it." The dog marked for death was relearning that not every touch meant harm, that not every goodbye was permanent, that someone could see him at his worst, scarred and broken and dangerous, and choose to stay. That surviving didn't mean being alone forever. Each day, Rex's tail hung a little less low. Each day, the wildness in his eyes faded, replaced by something that looked almost like hope. Week 4 arrived with the weight of finality. The facility director stood beside the animal behaviorist, both watching Spencer through the observation window as he sat on the concrete floor of the isolation wing, speaking softly to the German shepherd on the other side of the chain link. The unsigned euthanasia order lay between them on the metal desk. "One chance," the director said quietly. "We open the kennel. If he bolts or shows any aggression, we're done." Spencer heard the key turn in the lock, heard the metallic scrape of the kennel door swinging wide. The room held its breath. Rex stood frozen for 3 heartbeats, then moved with deliberate precision to Spencer's left side, the proper heel position drilled into him years ago. He sat, his solid weight pressing against Spencer's leg, and his scarred head swiveled slowly across the room. Alert, watchful, protective, but not aggressive. The behaviorist's pen clattered to the floor. 7 days of expedited paperwork later, Spencer's cane tapped across the facility lobby for the last time. Rex walked beside him, a new vest stretched across his powerful shoulders, "Service Dog" in bold letters. Spencer's hand rested on the leather harness, feeling the steady rhythm of the dog's movement, the certainty of each step. They reached the parking lot, and Spencer paused in the afternoon sun. His fingers found Rex's head, tracing the familiar scars. "You watch my 6, I'll watch yours," he said quietly. "We've both done our time in the dark." Rex's tail moved, just a small wag at first, tentative, like a muscle remembering how. Then stronger. The first real joy anyone had seen from him since Marcus Chen died. 2 warriors the system had written off, walking forward together, proving that some bonds aren't forged in spite of brokenness, but because of it. That sometimes the only way out of the dark is with someone who knows that darkness intimately and refuses to leave you there alone. Some wounds go too deep for eyes to see, and some souls are written off as too broken to save. But Captain Spencer and Rex proved that a second chance starts when you stop looking at the scars and start listening to the heart. If you believe that no one, man or dog, is ever truly beyond saving, hit the like button to share this message of hope with someone who feels as alone as Rex once did. Subscribe to join our community. We tell stories for the underdogs, the warriors, and those who carry invisible weight. If you could say one thing to someone fighting a silent battle right now, what would it be? Share your strength in the comments. Let's ensure no one walks alone.